Most of the fences work the same way in that they mount in 2 slots or either on T-track kind of off the sides, and then they're independent fences that just move front to back, and they're just kind of, you can wiggle them around and all that. And with a fence, it doesn't have to necessarily be perpendicular to the, parallel to the miter slot, because all you're doing is aligning it usually to the bit, and you're setting that so it can be cockeyed. As long as it's in line with the bit where you want it to cut, you're fine. You don't need to do that. The Craig fence is like a T-square, kind of like a Biesmeyer style fence on a table saw, in that it's a little tight here. So it slides back and forth here, but it's in a track on this side, and then on this end it just has a cam lock, so that you engage here with the scale, put it where you want it, and then it squares itself. So it keeps itself parallel to the miter slot, and then you can lock it in place down here on this cam. The net result is you get the same thing. It's just, we were saying earlier, I don't know that you ever really need to have this parallel to the miter slot very often. If you're doing something where you got your miter gauge up here and you're running a thing and you're trying to cope the end of a board, then you could use that maybe, but that's a rarity. So it's not as critical, but it's one of the things that Craig is just unique to them. But all the fences work well. With these, just you move them forward and back. You can lock them. You want independent faces so that you can move. You can open it up. If you put a bit in there, you want to be able to close these up as much as you can against the fence or against the bit, so that you can get your best dust collection, and so that your board doesn't drop into that opening. So if you had your set that wide and you tried routing, there's too much risk of your board catching down in there. So you want to keep those closed up as much as possible. These are not meant to be sacrificial fences, although if you do get the bit into they do have some kind of a core on there that will do it. So it's an MDF core, or in this case it's phenolic, so the bit can cut into them, but you shouldn't really do that. If you really want a zero clearance effect over your bit, then your best bet is to put some kind of a sub fence over top of these, because these are going to be kind of hard to replace. You're going to have a lot more work to do. You got to drill holes and stuff, and it's just easier to take a piece of MDF or plywood or something, glue it on there, and then just kind of ease it into your spinning bit and work it into there. When you do that, anchor one point and then just kind of bring the other one in, and then that'll give you your zero clearance on that to do that. But it's not very often that you really need zero clearance on a router bit, but you can do that. That's the beauty of the fences here. So, and with these, you can also offset the fences. So if you wanted to do a jointing effect where one fence is proud of the other, so if you were doing just like the effect of a jointer, you could raise your in-feed table, or your out-feed table, sorry, you could raise that a little bit and move it out, so that when you remove, say, a 32nd of an inch, you could put a 32nd of an inch shim over here, and then when you've removed that, it fits perfectly up against that fence. Otherwise, if you don't do that and you take that 32nd off, then you've got a kind of a cam action that's going to, when it gets to a tipping point, it's going to go back over here, and you're going to get an uneven cut. It'd be like snipe on a jointer. Most of them will have T-track on there. That's an important feature because you want to be able to use accessories like feather boards on the front, or in this case, fence stops. There's a track on top. Fence stops that'll come on here. Those will be if you were routing some kind of a stopped channel or whatever you're doing. Let's say you were doing you wanted to route a stopped groove from one end. Say you made let's see, here's an example of where I did one. So I've got a through dovetail box with a captured bottom in it, and I made a stopped groove in there to hold that. And what I did was just by setting the stops at each end, and then had a 1/4 inch spiral bit, and then I would just take my boards and put them up against the fence, lower it onto the spinning bit, because you're only talking like a 1/4, 16, maybe 3/16 of an inch tall, lower it onto there, and then go to this side, hit the stop, and then go back that way, hit the stop, lift it up, and there's your stopped groove. So that's the beauty of stops. Most of these are sold as accessories. You won't get those usually with a fence, but they're really handy to have. You can also make your own. Any little T-bolt or a hex bolt will also work in T-track. You can just make your own out of just make a right-angled piece of wood, something that would flip down, and you can make stops, but that's a handy little thing to have. So make sure you get those. Fences also have dust collection built into them. Most of them are made for 2.5 inch typical shop vacuum hose. So you're better off to do that with an actual shop vacuum system rather than taking your 4-inch piece of flex hose from your dust collector and necking that down to 2.5. You just don't get the performance out of that you will out of a shop vacuum. So if you're trying to capture all the dust from here, really work with a shop vacuum hose, whether it's any kind, it could be as simple as a plain old shop vac or a Craftsman vac, or you could even be as high end as a Fine or Festool, one of those tool triggered vacs. Anything that's going to be able to fit that well and get suction directly to it, it helps. Now when you're routing something that the fence is not going to be able to, your chips are not going to come into the fence. Let's say you're routing a groove on a board over here and all the debris is going down the bottom. So then all that's going to go either into your router or the router, the vents on the router, the air stream is going to just spew it everywhere. So you can do a couple of things there. You can build a shroud around there and then put a housing with a dust collection port on there to try to capture that dust. Or you can buy those. Bench Dog and Incra both sell these little housings, and if you can see inside, there's a housing that goes around the router that encloses it, and that just gives you a little bit better dust collection capability in there so that you can collect off the back. In this case, it has a 4-inch port, but something that helps you keep that dust in there. And the airstream, if you're pulling air out, you have to be able to get air in, which not only keeps the air moving and keeps your dust, your chips and stuff getting out, but it also helps keep your router cooled. So you don't want to, the last thing you want to do is put your router in a box and then seal it up so tight that it can't get air and it gets hot. You don't need that because you're not going to get dust collection and you're going to burn your router up. So, but those are vented for that particular reason. Incra, there's an Incra table down here. I'll tell you more about that later, but that's also got a little shroud around it that we can talk about. And that helps to really corral the dust. And that one does it really effectively. I'll get to that in a little while.